Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast that rejoices in Celtic's worldwide fan base. From Bishopton to Bruges, Zoltkote to Zagreb. Wherever you happen to be watching from, you're part of A Celtic World. And we have a full house in tonight to discuss last night's or this morning's game, depending on where you are. And in fact, you're all over in those cold islands of Northern Europe, so it was last night for you, this morning for me. Brian in Ireland, what about you?
Fantastic. Wasn't even meant to be here. Just turned up. So, yeah, great. Really happy with last night's performance and result. But sure, we can talk about that.
Always an open door for you here, Brian. Ian in Wales, how's it going by you?
I noticed you've said Bruges and not Brugge. I would have thought you would have been a stickler for the pronunciation of it there, Gav. Are we saying Bruges? Is that the official one? Okay, we'll say Bruges. Yeah, I'm good. I'm cold though. I'm cold. Like I can tell, Kaiser's getting the heating on. Me and Brian I've got the layers on.
And is it minus 11 in Glasgow, Kaiser?
Minus 11 or 11 in Ibrox. So I'm snowed in. There is mammoths running up and down my street playing tag to keep warm. But I'm loving it, loving life. The one ray of sunshine in Ibrox is the Kaiser. I go out every morning with a big smile, my Celtic top on, skip down the street to buy rolls. This morning was no different. Last night was a good game. We'll get into that.
We will indeed get into it. And how are we going to get into it, I hear you ask? Well, slightly different today. I want to start off with our reactions, thoughts and feelings, and what does it all mean for our Champions League campaign. We'll do that all first. And then we'll talk about the game. Like I say, because it was this morning, I just haven't had time to gather all the stills like I normally do. So we'll just talk through the incidents as we recall them, like most other shows. And then we'll come on to the fact that we'll be kicking balls around Ross County is the next game. So that's county balls. See what I've done there? Followed by socials, a little bit of Celtic social media. So thoughts and feelings, where to begin? Well, maybe we should begin if I was to call up Teresa's post on Blue Sky. I'm happy with the point considering how shite we were in the first half. Brian, you go along with that?
Yeah, totally go along with that. Early on, they were targeting us on the left-hand side. And the warning signs were there early enough. I mean, there was a couple of opportunities. Hatate left the ball, missed the ball a few times. And they're big. I don't know the name of their Spanish forward, but he had a couple of opportunities. And I think Casper kept us in the game a fair wee bit. Pretty much we didn't come alive, I think, until maybe the 13th, 14th minute. And then they were switching.
Like I say, let's talk about our thoughts and feelings first, and then we'll get into the game later.
Well, the one time I
tell us what your feelings. Let's delve into the soul of Brian. How happy are you?
I'm absolutely delighted with the 1 each, considering we're the CCVOG. I'm very, very happy that we got a point against Bruges, or whatever the hell they call them. The old Celtic would have probably been able to 3-1 or 3-0, but we come back and we got a valid point. And to be fair, the first half we weren't great, and Engels was a bit missing in action. But
all right, someone typing. I'm getting some noise interference if anyone's typing, or you hear that clicking.
I think it's Brian's microphone hitting his zip of his jacket.
It might be
because his microphone's on his headset. He's just giving us a little click.
Could be that. He mentioned CCV there, and I just want to point out that I'm a bit under the weather today, so there's parallels there with CCV. The rock that everybody else in the team sort of reveres is going to be uncharacteristically unreliable today. So I'm expecting you all to take up the slack. Ian, you're smiling away like a basket of chips. Are you chuffed with that result? Or opportunity wasted, or what?
I think it's a mixed bag of emotions for me, because I just say I've had a chance to sleep on it. I think maybe in the cold light of day, when people look back on it, I think we'll separate the game into the first 30 minutes and the goal, and then after that, because I don't even think after the goal, I don't think we played that badly, but I just kind of feel missed opportunity. That's my overriding kind of emotion on it. Is kind of, we really could have, the last 20 minutes, I think I get the feeling we kind of settled for a point instead of doubling down and going for the victory, which I think was there. I do think we could have won that in the end, because we kind of weathered the storm and we've done well. So I just think it's kind of disappointment, frustration. I think a little bit of like, Rodgers done really well this season, so this is not me going in kind of 2 foot to him at all. But I remembered something that Ange said. Ange always said the players kind of knew the role so well and had a bit of license to change things and mix things up to try and find a solution to the problems. And I'm just wondering if I'm kind of getting the feeling now that the players need a bit of that, because they are used to our system. But in becoming used to our system, everyone that scouts us seems to be used to our system, so they need a bit more to kind of do it. So just a little bit of frustration in a couple of aspects that we'll come on to. But decent point. And if you look at the campaign overall, we're where we would have wanted to be in terms of the point score. And if you look at Bruges, who've beaten Aston Villa, who when they were 10 men took AC Milan all the way, if you bring some of that into it, maybe it's not a bad result.
Well, when these things happen, I know I can always turn to Kaiser like as a ray of sunshine to be positive and to hail nothing but the positives into the conversation.
Oh, thoughts and feelings on the game. To quote a Rangers rabble legend, disappointed. First half we were lackluster, slow, not really in the game, second to every ball. Second half we came more into it. By the end of the game, I feel that if CCV never slotted that one home, Bruges could have went all night and not scored. Schmeichel was outstanding. And by the end of the game, I think we should have won it out. So I was disappointed that we never managed to close the points out. At the same time, relieved, because a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So that 1 point may prove to be pivotal, later on. So I was delighted that we acquired the point, and also gutted for CCV. As you said, Gav, absolute pillar of strength, absolute tower of power is the fridge, but he turns round and slots that one home. Can you hear me? No,
I can hear you. I'm just saying it a bit like myself.
Yeah, you're the tower of power.
That's right. Well, here's the thing I want to talk
tower
about.
Of power. That's why there's snow on top of the mountain.
I'm quite interested to hear everyone's feedback on that, because, well, here's another post, Andy O'Donnell on Blue Sky. A lot of people saying we were lucky to get a draw. I would say a draw is fair enough. We had our chances to win the game too. Yes, we weren't at the level we were against Red Bull, but we still dug in tonight against a very decent outfit when we were far from our best. There's just a bunch of stats there. And I see
but those stats there, I won't include, if it's the XG, won't include the own goal. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of take that out as well. So they did have a couple of good chances. I don't think we can deny that, but we did as well. But our own goal isn't included in that. So yeah,
I kind of came away from that game relatively relieved that we didn't lose. I was, because during that game, in the first half, they were teaching us a lesson all over the park, and we never really got going that much. And Schmeichel made a great save to deny them. There was that other chance, or we're getting into the specifics of the game, but at the back post where a decent touch and that's flying into the net. I don't remember Mignolet being tested a great deal. I think we were relatively lucky to get a draw. Brian, do you want to counter that? Or do you agree with that?
Well, it was a game of two halves, really, and it took the goal for us to come alive. And I was really impressed with the fact that as soon as their goal went in, as soon as CCV's own goal, Casper grabbed the team together and right at the scruff of the neck and it got the juices flowing again. You know what I mean? But we should have. I mean, your young fella, I think his name is Says, the wee blondie guy, left right back. He was fantastic. He had a couple of opportunities on their Danish right winger Olsen on another night could have been 2 up. You know, Kuhn was very, or as Joe Hart calls him, Kun. I don't even notice that on the commentary. Nicholas Kun. I just,
Careful.
I'm being very careful. I was worried about Joe, but you know what? We were riding our luck a bit. And
I have to disagree with that. I don't think we were riding our luck. I don't think I know they played well in the first 30 minutes, but there weren't really any great chances in those first 30 minutes. Like, I don't think they troubled us. I mean, I think we were disorganised, and we'll go on to talk about like the spaces in midfield and stuff like that. But they had possession for the sake of possession. I don't think they blew us away in the first 30 minutes. I just feel that we weren't at our best, which makes it feel worse, if that makes sense. But I think if you probably look back at it, and hopefully like kind of people will, I think you'll kind of be like, well, yeah, they didn't really trouble us. And had we not scored that own goal, you know, it could have been a different result. It was our error that led to it. And then you saw that kind of galvanized us. And then from that point on, they couldn't really, we played a lot better and they played the same. I think it was us not playing well that kind of led to that feeling. So.
Okay. Yeah.
I agree with you, Ian. I seen it as like the early rounds of a title fight. They came out with throwing punches. They gave it their all at the start of the game. They had us under the cosh the first 15 minutes, but they never really threatened us. They didn't look incisive, like they were getting that guilty edge chance. They were primed to score until we scored for them. Like maybe over the whole of the entire game, they maybe deserved to score. But I certainly think we deserve to score more than one. I certainly think that. I think Hatate was left on despite tiring because he was looking so dangerous and so likely to score. And I'm rather than being relieved at achieving the point, I'm disappointed we didn't win out in the end. So
Hatate was looking dangerous and likely to score.
Yeah, I think he was anyway, Gav. I know the internet and the wider community will be saying Hatate was ropey, he ran around, he was shite, right? Say what you want. I think Hatate was left on because he was dangerous, he was finding space and having shots from outside the box, and he looked like our most likely player to score.
I think
I don't know if we're talking about this now, Gav, but it seems like a segue. For me, I think Hatate's the reason we didn't win it. And I think if we park the fact that his passing was, I mean, it was pretty poor all night, and it really is what invited pressure onto us. None of the midfield were good, so we can talk about Engels, we can talk about Kalmak, but Hatate kept on passing the ball again to people. And I think in the last 20 minutes especially, he was visibly tired, and you saw him lose his balance a couple of times, and even that late chance at the end, he just couldn't find the pass because he was too tired. And I think those last 20 minutes, had we brought on a McCowan who was ready to come on for some reason, and then Yang came on, I think we would have, we could have been maybe sitting here discussing a victory. I'm not saying it's Hatate's fault we didn't win. What I'm saying is he was visibly tired, and it seemed obvious he was the one to change in the last 20 minutes, to me anyway.
I would agree with that, Ian, right? When it came towards the end, I thought McCowan was going to come on myself. Hatate did tire towards the end. I'm not trying to say he did not tire. I'm not blind. I'm not foolish. For me, the person where the passing broke down, the person I was most disappointed in is Trusty. He takes the ball in defence and passes it across. He lays it off to CCV every time. He never breaks the lines. He never goes forward. He never passes forward. He just invited pressure all night long. So as much as people like look at Hatate in the midfield, I was disappointed that Scales wasn't in there and running forward as he does so powerfully with the ball and usually passes it to absolutely no one. But he does run forward and pass the ball. Trusty's just, for the past couple of games, he's just been laying the ball off to CCV. It's just a constant inside. He only passes sideways. I was bitterly gutted with Trusty's performance.
Defensively, though, Trusty our best defender in the night by a mile.
His recovery pace and his defensive play was outstanding, but he just offers nothing coming out of defence. And that was one of his big elements, was this left-sided defender with a left foot who we paid $6 million for, who is a good passer, who breaks the lines, wasn't breaking the lines. All he's doing is passing the ball across the pitch to CCV and looking for CCV to break the lines. And CCV is a very safe player, very one-dimensional. He will pass the ball left or right. He won't really try and run it forward or pick out a forward pass.
Is that because Taylor's the one who's inverting? So therefore, Trusty only really has CCV if there's bodies in front of him, whereas CCV has Trusty and AJ. I mean, this might be the opportunity to talk about Taylor. I think Taylor's leading a bit of a charmed life if he's not signing that new contract. I got to be honest with you, I'd rather play Valle. I think you saw the massive change when he came on. I think, someone who wasn't always looking to play a pass backwards or go backwards. Immediately when he came on, he was passing the ball forward. He was confident. He was taking players on. He was even getting tight to players for when they're heading, whereas Taylor was kind of standing off. So I think, I can appreciate what you're saying about Trusty not maybe passing things forward. I think there was maybe a bit too much traffic in front of him, especially in the first half. And I think with Taylor inverting instead of being wide, I think it's more that his only option really a lot of the times is CCV. So I think that's maybe what skews it.
I think maybe that's spot on, Ian, where you're mentioning Taylor not being out there wide, and CCV has AJ to choose from out wide or Trusty. Spot on there. Maybe Trusty isn't breaking those lines and passing it forward because Taylor's not presenting the option. For me, it is an absolute mystery why Taylor is back in the side. I was delighted with the performances of Valle. And in my opinion, as Brendan said before, if you don't show that you're committed to the side, why are you playing? He's not going to feature you, but Taylor just keeps getting brought back in. I just don't understand it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, now, remember we talked about Valle and Taylor previously at length, and I was making the point that he's insufficiently different from Taylor for my liking. He's a better version of Taylor, and I totally accept he's more progressive and he looks to pass forward at ever. That's his first instinct, is to go forward. Taylor's is to check back, and that's very annoying. But he showed in that game both things. I think that he showed how he differs from Taylor, and then he also showed how easily he gets shaken off the ball, and physically he loses battles, and he's not a dominant figure.
He's in those battles, Gav. He's in those battles. There's a moment in the first half where we're talking about Danish winner, and you everyone knows you go and you close down that space and you close down the man. Taylor's backing off into the box, and then that leads to the chance. Valle, at least he's maybe getting a bit out-muscled, but he's there to be out-muscled, and the person doesn't have an easy takedown or an easy run in. And I just think it's just all. Look, I think Taylor is really good domestically, and I think he is really good for us in certain games. Like, you look at Leipzig, he was good in that game because it kind of demanded a bit more of a defensive element. When we're as evenly matched as someone like Club Bruges, you want someone positive to drive them forward, because we can't afford that kind of inherent negativity. I think it impedes us.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a game that has shown the difference between those two players as much as this game. Because as soon as Valle came on, it was night and day, wasn't it? Really,
he
really
right after they come on.
He come on, the assist.
Yeah.
We're missing a point, lads, about Engels. I thought Engels was shocking last night. I thought,
okay,
he was an empty jersey. And as a result of that, the mistakes, the one or two mistakes, the loose balls that Hatate was playing, because Engels wasn't on the game, even at his long range of passing, which is usually fantastic. He was reluctant to take any. He kept going for the short corner as well, I noticed, in the set pieces. I don't know what that was about, but something, maybe he's a touch of flu or something, I don't know. He just wasn't at the races for me.
Yeah, now let's talk about the midfielders then. Engels, there's still a lot of clicking going on there. Engels, let me see, let me gather my thoughts on him. It seems to me like Brendan has been continually trying to just play him into form, get him settled in the team, just keep giving him minutes. But again, if we said this was a great game for displaying the difference between our two left backs, when Bernardo came on, he did all the things that we wished Engels had been doing. So, of course, that debate is raging now about who should have started the game. Here's John R. Morning, folks. My thoughts on last night's game. Last year, we would have lost that game. I hear that a lot on social media. We didn't. I think if we had Bernardo, Valle, and maybe McCann on for Rio, we might have won it. But then I'm not Brendan. I'm just a guy sitting in his car at 6:30 trying to defrost it. So that's what John R. has to say. Ian, if you were the man in the hot seat, are you better off starting those players, or are they better coming on to influence the game with half an hour to go? Or, I mean, Rodgers knows more about football than we do.
Yeah, he does. And I think, look, he'll have his reasons for playing Engels. I think, like Brian was saying about an empty shirt, I think that's true. He didn't really do anything good. He didn't do anything bad. He wasn't really involved in any of our good moments. And then when it was defensively, he was always seemed to kind of be coming back. But that's symptomatic of his last few games for us. I would have thought against, like it was clear he did the exact same thing against Hearts, and I would not have been surprised to see Bernardo start. I would also not have been surprised to see Bernardo come on at half-time as poor as Engels was. And I take your point, Brian, maybe that's why Hatate's passing was a little bit off, because he didn't have those options. And Calmac looked like he had like 50p boots on when he was having the ball passed into him. So I think, look, there's no doubt Bernardo, I think, has to come in. I think Engels has to kind of be rested. I'm reluctant. Let's not throw anyone under the bus after that, because I've seen a lot of that there. People saying Engels isn't the player, he isn't him, etc., etc. Engels is still a young boy, right? And bear in mind, he's starting for the Belgian national team. He is a good prospect and he just needs time to develop. I think there's maybe a little bit of pressure because of the price tag to play him. That could also be something as well. Rodgers also might want him to get used to the system, and the only way to do that is to play the games, and he's hoping everyone else can kind of compensate. But I think that, that's probably run its course. I think it's probably now time to... I think, do you know what the difference is? See, when Bernardo plays, Bernardo looks like a Celtic player. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He feels comfortable in that team. He feels confident in the team. When Engels plays, he doesn't yet look like that. He's got all the attributes: big, tall, physically strong, good technique and stuff like that. But I don't think he yet has that kind of inherent confidence, the swagger that he needs, etc. And I think that's maybe just a little bit that's missing, and that will come. So I would say to people, don't write him off. Don't throw him under the bus, because he's got all the attributes to be top class.
I think he's fatigued, Ian. He's been playing a lot for the Belgian team, and he's been playing for us. I think just take him out and give him a bit of a rest, get Bernardo in, and certainly talking about ball retention, Jamesy, as always, when he comes on, the ball's stuck to his feet. Stuck, he just is so economical with the ball. And you remember last year with Lazio, where we got the Pedro broke our hearts. I just didn't feel like that this year. I didn't feel like we would lose one late on. As we were chasing the game, and you look at Bernardo, he thought we flicked back and be dummy, and he hit the shot. Another day that could have hit the back of the net.
Yeah, I think Bernardo's had that time last year, that settling in period, and he had, when other people were looking, why is Rodgers playing Bernardo in the Champions League but not playing him in the league? You remember all that debate? Why is Rodgers standing by Engels? It's quite simple. We've invested £11 million in this player, and we're not willing to Tory Andre flow him and put him in the flow zone just because people want to have a little dig at his diminishing performances. As Brendan said himself, he's coming from a holiday, 1 game a week, where he's not under pressure to win every single game. Coming into the structure of Celtic, Brendan's trying to hold with him, the same as you would forge a sword. You heat that up and bring it up to temperature, you pound it, you cool it down, and then you heat it again. Brendan's bringing him in, he's trying to forge him in the midfield. And I think it's glaring that we're going to stare at that position because of the lack of Matt O'Reilly. Matt O'Reilly being in that position, I think we would have won that game with Matt O'Reilly in that position, or Bernardo starting in that position. I think that as well, right? Bernardo is just, he's reached that precipice where he's pushing his way into the side. No other player is really reaching that cusp where they're pushing their way into the side. For me, the person who should be dropped for Bernardo is Hatate, because Bernardo plays on the left-hand side. But just because he can play on the right-hand side, everyone's looking at Engels and going, just drop him. Just give him a rest. Sometimes players do just need the rest. And this may be one of those times where he does just need to, Brendan needs to bring him out, sit him down for a couple of weeks. But as you've said, lads, he is 21 years old, just turned 21. We've invested 11 million in this prospect. He's starting for his national side. I think the manager's quite right to stick with him and maybe play through this grey patch, realising when we come out the other side of it, he's going to be a lot better for it. And I think we should
read
have
somewhere
as a support. Sorry,
I read somewhere that he's our youngest permanent first team squad player, or words to that effect. So that's got to be remembered. There's been a bit of a pattern of, Rodgers ultimately doing what the fans are calling for. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Bernardo did, get in ahead of Engels now in the next phase of games. And again, if Valle was to get ahead of Greg Taylor. Is that because Celtic fans are so knowledgeable, Brian? Or Brendan's just a big pig-headed? Or it's a funny the way that happens, though, that he ultimately this season several times he has gone the way of what the fans are asking for.
It's okay for us sitting here. He's living it. He's in the moment. He's having to make those split decisions. And I think creatively speaking, Hatate can unlock a few doors, and he's always trying to get on the ball and get the ball forward. But I don't know. I think as an impact player, Bernardo coming on is just, it's like bringing on Baresi or somebody like that. Just calms everything down and just ball retention. I think Ida did really well when he came on last night. I thought Ida was, drew the foul straight away. The guy got yellow carded. But I don't think Brendan's listening to us. I think a lot of it's, a blind man.
He's listening to us.
He's listening to you, Gav. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's part of the journey. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's listening to us per se, but a blind man on the galloping horse could see that Engels wasn't at the races and neither was Hatate. But it's a squad game, and I would have loved to have seen McCowan on. I felt really sorry for him because he was getting warming up and nothing. But
I heard that was to do with Kuhn indicating that he wanted to be subbed off, so suddenly that substitution changed. Kuhn was blowing out his ears, I think is the technical term.
Yeah.
Well, listen, if you've got thoughts you want to drop in and you're thinking that later on is a better time to drop them in, that might not be the case because we're not really following any structure particularly here. We're going to get on to talk about the Champions League now, the other results and what they all mean. So any particularly penetrative insights into the game that you really want to get off your chest there, Ian?
What, to finish that segment or to talk about the no, I would just say on the Hatate and Engels thing, I think the reason Hatate's more worthwhile having the gamble is Engels doesn't, if Engels isn't playing, he's anonymous. Hatate will always try things and drive things forward, and he'll always try and play those passes, and he does it constantly, and he tries to get in the turn. I think Hatate is one of our best players. I know he splits the support a little bit, but I think the team is a lot better.
One last thing, did anyone think
Hatate in it?
Did anyone think the referee looked a bit like Will Ferrell? Will Ferrell? No? Or maybe it was just me.
Didn't even notice what
Looked
the
like Will
referee
Ferrell.
looked like.
Bulgarian guy. Just
He looked very Bulgarian to me.
he did indeed. Yeah, he did indeed. He did indeed.
He
Well,
was
he
wearing
looked
a
a bit
set
like
of rosary beads.
the old German guy, the old German guy on VAR was always going to do the boys a turn.
All right. Well, on that note, let's move it on to some of the other results in the Champions League then. Here's the first set that took place. Well, it says Wednesday here. Is it Wednesday? Anyway, it was. You can see the results here. Any of these jump out at you, Kaiser? Want to mention some of these? Man City Feyenoord 3-3.
That's that 6-0 result there, Gav. And that's 6-1 down there for Atalanta and Young Boys.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Knowing that we've got young boys to come and visit, they seem to be getting beat up by a lot of teams. It doesn't. I'm not filled with fear. I'm actually quite happy as we sit right now in the Champions League. It's not the end of the world that we drew a home game, because we picked up points on the road that I never really expected us to pick up. So yeah, that Young Boys game, knowing their future opponents, and Man City, obviously I seen the headlines for there. Pep beating himself up, looking like Homer Simpson when he tries to dig his way out the sandpit and he gets his head scratched. Yeah, a lot of news for Europe.
And Brian, do you want to highlight any of these results? I see somebody mentioning Stuttgart losing 5-1. Is that there? Yeah, that was a good result for us. We'll come on to the table in a second and see what it all means. But yeah, Stuttgart losing 5-1 to Red Star.
It's good to see. It's good to see Liverpool beat Real Madrid, and we're actually ahead of Real Madrid. It'd be good if they could just miss the cut. Looking there, Bruges, yeah.
And then two familiar teams there. Borussia Dortmund beating Dinamo Zagreb 3-0.
Yeah, I think they're. I mean, they're like young boys. They're gone. Aston Villa, Juventus. Yeah, just shows you we can go up there and get a draw. You know, I've no fear of Aston Villa. I think they're on a bit of a bad run at the minute. Nothing really.
Any results there you want to talk about, Ian?
No, just touching on that Aston Villa one. I heard some of the Aston Villa fans were kind of on it. Unai Emery saying you're getting sacked in the morning or something. They were unhappy about because they've been on that poor run, and that's the madness of the EPL to me. I mean, he's done absolute wonders with Aston Villa, and the fact that in the Champions League, competing with Juventus is a bit wild, especially since they had what was he called, Steven Gerrard, and they've gone in that run. So I think it's a bit reflective of the EPL. Yeah, so some weird results, aren't there? Some good results, but yeah. So I think this has been a good change. I think this has been a good change to the Champions League.
Okay, so let's look at the league phase table. This is first of all the top 8. Some of the cream starting to rise to the top there. Some bigger names are starting to populate that area. Still got maybe one or two slight surprises. The seeded playoff section there goes from Aston Villa in 9th down to Milan in 16th. Brest and Sporting Lisbon maybe, or slight surprises, maybe even Lille, Benfica, I'm not sure. And then there comes the section that we're in. We're 20th. We're 20th after that on 8 points. And you can see the other teams that are with us there. Now, if you go down to the very bottom section, I suppose what's encouraging to the eye is here that there's lots of teams just lining up to be whipping boys. Look at all these L's. And the more teams we see doing that, the better for us. Loads of these teams lost, as you can see. The teams around us, where we were leapfrogged by a few of them, like PSV there in 18th. Some of these teams that won, and now they're up to like 9 points. All these teams here. But I see a point here from Mahesh. Celtic have 4 points advantage over 24th place with 9 points on offer. A win and a draw may not be enough. Beating Zagreb away would be handy. Well, certainly would.
I think I'll stick with the opinion of the supercomputer that says Celtic's on 8 points, and if we make it to 10, we're basically making it through to that playoff round. With 9 points on offer, I think we can make it to 10, hopefully. A draw in every game will more than be enough. I'll take that. I'll take them apples.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the talk about us pushing forward and getting into the automatic qualifying spots and all that has dropped down a peg or two. But I think we still have to be reasonably confident, don't we, Brian, that we're going to make it into the playoff round?
If somebody had said after 5 games you'd have the same points as Man City, you had a bit their hand off for it. I think there's still a lot of football to be played. It's great to have 8 points on the board. Yeah, but nice to have the 10. But there's still a lot. I mean, Villa away, we've got Dynamo Zagreb away, Young Boys at home. Young Boys are gone. So there's, you don't like to count your chickens, but they're potentially, there's 11 points. If we look at Young Boys alone, we've won it. We've got on there's no reason why we can't get a draw or a win against Dynamo Zagreb. And Villa game, Villa are under pressure. They're not scoring goals. Stranger things have happened.
And is everyone assuming we're getting 3 points from Young Boys?
I think you can only comment on the evidence, and Young Boys are stinking the Champions League out. I think that's what it is. I think like Zagreb, I think is going to be a massively difficult game. I would bite both your hands off for a point right now. There, I mean, don't be, have a look at some of their results. They're a very good team, and it's going to be difficult to kind of to go there. I think we have to. I put it this way. I think it will come down to if it's the game against Young Boys that decides if we qualify or not. If we don't beat Young Boys at home, then we don't deserve to be in the next round. That's essentially it. Given how bad they are, that's the crux of it.
Look at these bottom 3 teams that have lost every single game: Leipzig, Slovan Bratislava, and Young Boys. So according to that, we were given like 9 points from the off. Yeah,
but Bratislava have had a couple of games where they've had a man sent off, and they've been in like a goal away from beating some teams. They've actually done all right after we shellacked them. So it's tough. Look, you see how tight these games are. What was interesting about last night was it was champion against champion, which is very rare in the Champions League. So we weren't playing any mugs. And I think that's the thing with the new format. Even the ones that are coming in, the so-called lesser teams, there's no mugs there.
First time we played Bruges too.
Yeah, I think we've sort of bridged into that. It's like tiers of the Champions League. Before we would have been down there on 0 points, losing all the games and maybe feeling aggrieved that maybe we could have snatched a point. We could have won here. We should have won there. We lost it in the last minute there. Now we're sort of in that realm of very hard-working sides who don't have a worldwide star or a world-class player to boast of, but they outwork it all night long, run very hard, and that's kind of what we competed against, like for like last night, when a unstoppable object meets an unmovable force, champion v champion. So on the balance of that, I think I'm quite happy where Celtic have progressed to. And I could see even now, looking at where we're playing and how we are playing, just a brush more quality here and there. Engels comes on his game, becomes the player that we all think he is, that he showed in his early days, and we're there. And I just a brush, a dash more quality left and right will take us to that next tier where we are beating these teams who are hard-working teams because we have the hard work and the little caveat of quality. That's all we are missing now. I'm actually really encouraged by how we are playing in Europe this season and the fact that we are digging these results out, even when we don't play well.
Yeah. Now, listen, let me tell you something. Was it yesterday? I recorded a segment with Scotland's Coefficient, and that'll be played on a show next week, I think next Thursday. So watch out for that. It's a brilliant chat, really illuminating, and it spells out the possible future scenarios for us in the Champions League. And the one thing I took away from it, or one of the things, is we need to enjoy these days because they may not last forever, the way the coefficient might be going in years to come. So we might look back at this season as, the glory days of, a 10-year span or
I
something.
think we need to use this season as that stick in the sand where the board is going to do that engineered decline, then we're not going to make those qualifiers to even get into the Champions League. We need to be putting that quality in place and remain a Champions League side, regardless of Peter Lawwell feeling we might not make it and wanting to save the 77 million and sell you some cyber turf. Regardless of that, we need to maintain that level and just ensure we are in the Champions League every season. It's not just our coefficient. It's not just us who have made the coefficient suffer. Hearts and Aberdeen and stuff play in Europe every season, and they do run around like a blind man through a naked forest.
We're also giving them $1 million each for our qualification. They get $1 million each. Do you know what I mean? For all this, and again, look, don't get me wrong, football rivalry is a wonderful thing, especially in Scotland. I wouldn't change the vast majority of it. But when you see our ticket allocations getting cut and all this sort of stuff, and they get given £1 million for us participating in the Champions League, and then we don't get previous seasons we haven't had accommodations with fixtures and stuff like that. I think that, folk need to wise up that it is a kind of joint effort between us all. I'm encouraged by the start Aberdeen's making. Hopefully they can double down, and the more sides we can have competing in Europe, not them, obviously. I want to see them crash and burn every single game. But if the other ones, can kind of pick up the slack, I think it would be good, and anything we can do to help them.
I don't get that, Ian. Who am I to tell another club how to run their club? If you want to not allocate your stadium and sit with an empty stadium and not sell tickets to Celtic fans, that is 110% their choice. Me personally, I would open half my stadium. I would charge the Celtic fans a wee bit more, and I would let my own fans in cheaper, and I would put every penny on the pitch to improve in my club side. But whatever these guys want to do, as you've said yourself, they just earned £1 million while cutting the allocations off the back of Celtic's performances. So I think they should be doffing the cap and maybe reviewing the way the allocations are going. I'm not saying they should be falling over backwards and draping over us because we've handed them money, but they should be looking at exactly what they're doing and how they are hurting their own businesses by not letting us in there.
I think they should. I think some of them should be saying thanks, Celtic, because we are helping out a good couple of teams. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, like you're saying, they shouldn't be falling over themselves to be doing it, but it does feel there's a lot of wee guys just wee-guy in the whole situation. And like you say, charge the Celtic fans a bit more or invest in, I'm a big advocate of the rising tide raises all ships. And I think that, we all need to kind of play a bit better together. I don't know how that, I don't know what more Celtic can do. I think we're quite accommodating as a club in terms of visiting fans and, all that sort of thing. So, yeah, we just need to see. Hopefully it'll change.
Well, we talked about the seating allocation, among other things, at the Hearts match. And as we all know, that little video on YouTube snippet was met with great enthusiasm by Heart supporters and even made its way onto follow, did it not, Ian? So
yeah, I encourage people to go and try and check it. The follow is good. The lack of self-awareness on follow should be scientifically studied, because I'm sure if they said the average intelligence, I'm sure the stupidest people in Scotland are on follow. If you got all the usernames, you could go and do a study on them, because they are just genuinely. I mean, it's a miracle they're able to log on to that forum and post and actually
Cool.
know English, because they just some of the stupidest people on earth in there.
It's
But-
coleslaw in there. There's coleslaw in there, Ian, because there's a bit of cabbage. You know, there's a bit of cabbage in there. But
100%. But that being said, there are some choice insults in there that did make me laugh. So I would say go and follow. I mean, the lack of self-awareness is one thing, but even a broken clock is right twice a day. So
It's still in the sense of entitlement. There's still, you look at back at the from 2000 to 2024, 24 league titles. We've won what? I'm trying to work it out, 19 or something like that. Like if that was the other way around, we wouldn't be getting nowhere. That in the days of post Henrik, the bad times. I never once thought that I never come up and say, "Oh, we're better than them," or on the day you'd like to beat them, but when we were
that's what makes it so enjoyable, though, Brian. Is their
self-awareness,
supreme delusion, and they just haven't moved on. And you even see the stuff with Baldy Beale. They just don't know how to process the fact that they are that bad. They can't even get angry. They are so bad now that they can't even get angry, and they've got none of the money, which is what they used to have. They used to have the money, and they used to be, oh, well, we'll just spend the money. It's almost, what is it, a eunuch when they're like the bits chopped off them. They're like the eunuch of Scottish football now. They're just kind of swaggering about, pretending this big grand, sort of thing. Lift up the covers, and there's nothing there.
Kendall under the quilts.
Yeah.
I think it's very funny that we were actually talking about Hearts and their big brother came in to stick up for them, and we ended up going follow. The diet Huns we were talking about, and their big brother came in to protect them. That's nice.
Let's deal with a question here by Brown Warrior. He asks, does the panel think it's fair that Scales has been dropped like a lead balloon after 18 months of consistency, and then Carter Vickers does that? He's been nowhere near the player we signed under Ange.
Oh, no, I'm not having to.
Well, hold on. I'm just going to say, I don't know of any other player, well, there's very few of them, that could score an own goal like that and get zero blowback from the fans.
It was a nice
finish. He's just got... Yeah, go ahead.
I think I watched it live, right, guys, and I done the drink along, and as I watched that, I seen Schmeichel pull out wide to receive the ball. I think he thinks the ball's going to bypass CCV, and he pulls out wide to receive the ball. CCV receives the ball instead. He doesn't see Schmeichel move behind him. He turns around, doesn't even look, plays the pass, slots it in the bottom corner, cold as ice. The fridge strikes again. What do you want us to do? You know what I mean? Beat him up. I need to go and answer the door, right, Gav? I'll be a second.
Let me take over that, Gav. So, look, the reason that CCV is not getting more jet is because he has got so much in the bank. He has been such a consistent performer across of all games and is a top quality centre back. Now he has some things with fitness, 100%, and I think last night it was a schoolboy error, because we all know you don't just pass within the space of the goals. I think everyone's kind of taught that, but it's just an unfortunate mistake. Now, separate to that, Scales. I think Scales is unlucky. Scales is a multiple UEFA Champions League man of the match winner, and I think he has proven to be very, very good. I think Trusty, I think it's the recovery pace. I think that's what it is. I think it's the ability. I think he's just faster than Scales. So I do feel sorry for Scales, but you saw a couple of times Trusty getting back in, making that challenge, being able to go out wide and make the challenges and cover for Taylor. And I think it might be a different scenario if we didn't have Taylor. There might be more of an argument. But I think the fact that Taylor's kind of not performing as well and, kind of leaving that space there, I think Trusty is the one, and I think it's because of pace. I think Scales is unlucky, but I do think it's pace related, because I think they're both proven to be good defenders.
I think that's spot on, Ian. We all said it for so long, even when Scales came in. Look how often we seem to be in a back three because Taylor's missing in action. Scales needs to pull out wide. He's basically playing two positions. He's playing in the centre defence, and he's left back. He's covering Taylor over and over again. AJ doesn't invert. He tends to go down the wing, down the outside, or play through. So CCV doesn't need to go over and cover that side. It's not a fluid moving with both wing backs inverting or taking turns each at inverting. Like we see wingers will swap positions, like we see McCoon and Dyson last night, swapping over sides of the pitch. That's they communicate that to each other. Taylor just, in my opinion, does what he wants. And I hate to keep getting back to it, right? Like you're saying there, I think Trusty's recovery pace, 110%. He's in there to make those tackles and intercept those speedy wingers coming down that side, because Greg Taylor more often than not is missing in action. He's up in midfield somewhere or playing right wing. We've got the only left back that plays right wing, and Greg Taylor's convincing himself that there's Premiership clubs just waiting for a left back to play right wing. I don't know what he's been smoking, but yeah, he needs to put me in contact with his dealer. I think Scales is very hard done by myself.
Did you see him on the bench? He was smiling and joking, which was very, very positive for me. I would love to see Scales at left back. I would love to see. He doesn't have the pace, but there's a way to shoehorn him into the team somehow. You know,
play Trusty left back, Brian, and play Scales just inside. Use Trusty's pace where it should be out there on the left back and his left foot.
I'm not advocating this switch on the right. Keep a left back. I think we've got so many games. Scales is going to be back in there. Do you know what I mean? And Scales did well when he was alongside Trusty. He did well when he was alongside CCV. I think it's a very strong area of the pitch for us now. You know, that era aside.
I'm not advocating that. I'm not advocating that.
We do have so many games, and it's time to look forward to the next one. So let's put aside the glamour of the Champions League. Turn our attentions back to this. Who are we playing next? Well, it's Ross County, isn't it? We are first. They're in 8th position. That's the league table. Here's the form guide. Ross County have picked up a couple of wins the last few games, which is helpful for them. Their fight against relegation. It seems we always say after every Champions League game, so Luke McCown's coming in for this next one then, which makes me a bit sad for him, because I'd love to see him on the bigger stage, and I want to see him get more minutes. But what does anyone think about this game coming up? Who are we going to see? Are there going to be any other changes? What are you expecting, Kaiser?
I'm expecting to see McCown come in and Bernardo come in. That performance there in the Champions League, maybe Brendan uses that to draw that line in the sand and say to the players who are round about the squad, right, you come into the squad now, take your chance. Are you going to come play well, be in the running for the next Champions League squad? So I'm kind of hoping that's what happens. Not wholesale changes across the entire field, of course, but definitely a couple in midfield. Maybe Ida starting as well. I would like to see Bernardo, McCowan, and Ida and Ida start. Maybe Yang as well. That's going a bit far, but definitely those three. I'll stick to the three. Those three I would love to see and Ida start.
Brian, are you worried about the wee boy from Newington?
Yeah, he's top scorer in the SPL, isn't he?
Joined with a whole bunch of other people, isn't it?
Well, he's
or
still,
is it? No, or maybe he scored since, has he?
I think he's top scorer, is he not?
All right. Wow.
I would love us. You know what? You know my feelings on Roland Hill. You know.
Tell us them.
I would love. I said last year we should have bought him and had him about the place and maybe loaned him out to Hibs or somewhere. But I just said, why not? Why not give him why not buy him for what would you get him for? 500,000, 300,000? You know,
he wouldn't be expensive, that's for sure.
Well, he's 24, like he's no youngster, like. But yeah, we all need that. You look at Scales coming in and our history of Irish players and talent that maybe shouldn't really have been on the pitch. Paul Byrne comes to mind. The 2 wonder goals he scored against them. But yeah, he's a player. There's a player in there, you know.
Definitely, he's dangerous against us. That's for sure. Ian, have you got any insight into the next game? What do you think is going to happen?
No, I mean, I think that, there's an argument for Scales coming in, Vi coming in, Bernardo, Ida, Forrest. I think there's a lot of potential changes that will be there. I think a lot will be based on the recovery of the players. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ida coming in just because of the kind of need to be a bit more physical, especially at Ross County. I think that's probably one of the kind of stick-on changes. I kind of feel like Ida might be the kind of weapon for this one. We need to see. But again, we just need to see when that team sheet comes out. I don't think we can second guess it because, like we're saying, you kind of feel there needs to be wholesale changes with the amount of games that are coming up, but then the issues that brings. So yeah, we just have to wait and see. I think it's always a difficult game after the European one because we do have a bit of a hangover, just in terms of being fatigued.
Do we rest Kuhn? It's a controversial one, but I would.
I don't think we can, Brian. I think you play the man in form, and I think that you'd put up a stat from someone earlier, Gav, about his goals and contributions being more than Larson in his last season. He's absolutely, I think they said it in commentary last night. It's weird that he comes off and he hasn't provided a goal or assist. He is the man in form, and I think we just need to extract every last drop out of that when he's there. Now, different if he really does need the rest 100%. But yeah, he's our biggest weapon at the moment.
Well, you say play the man in form. I'd like to play a little video of a man in form, a hero of mine in the world of football media on YouTube, the great Peter Maguire. Check this out.
Any manager is quite simply he's dead man walking. This because quite simply, if you can't take your chances, is quite simply got battered for it. Quite simply. Now the worst thing about that is quite simply.
There you go. So if any of the viewers see us repeating the same expression like that over and over again, please let us know because
Peter Maguire says
quite simply
something else.
Oh, sorry, did I call him Peter Maguire? That's his real name. He goes by the name Peter Martin these days.
Peter Martin Maguire.
You need to get that there and tag him in that, Gav. I'm sure you'll appreciate it.
I didn't mean to do that, but
his
name is Peter Martin Maguire, I believe.
Yeah, he dropped the Maguire because he didn't think he would get on in media because he had an Irish sounding name. Well,
trust me, as someone whose family changed certain aspects of their CV to get jobs back in the day, I understand that, and I don't think there's much criticism that can go that way. You've got to.
There's no criticism of the situation, but he's just a gobshite. I can't stand him. I like Ruffy. To be fair, I remember when Ruff played for Celtic on loan. I think it was under Lou McCarron. I can't remember, but Ruffy's a good guy. He's good form. But Peter Martin's just a tit. Excuse my French.
Well, another thing that somebody suggested on social media is why don't we have any female contributors? And the truth is, I've reached out to multiple females to see if they would like to come on. It's particularly difficult, I think, to get females to come on and talk about football because the abuse that they get is even more than we would get and probably harder to take. But I may have found one. Let me know. This is her audition tape. We'll see how much of this you can withstand.
Yesterday, when Celtic won, had a fantastic day, man. A fantastic night yesterday. That was pure dead fucking brilliant troops. And my dear Celtic fellow fans, that was pure fucking dead brilliant on night. First hot a wee bit, as you know. Sorry. It's me again. Glasgow genuine, a Celtic daft.
What do you think, Brian? Does she make the grade?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be you dressed up in drag, Gav, but thankfully it wasn't. But yeah, it's just stealing a few cones. Must be a student, is she?
She is funny. There's lots of fans here.
Get her on.
Yeah, I think I've seen a good few clips. So very, very, very enthusiastic. I would be questioning what's in that large mug that's beside her. She's had a few sips, but I think that's all of us during the game. To be fair,
I've never seen her before. So every day's a school day on a Celtic world.
There you go.
Is she on Blue Sky? Or
I don't know.
I'm
but
certainly
she's
not on
got a
Blue
YouTube
Sky,
channel.
all right. Glasgow, my love. There we go. Another bit of content.
I'm so sorry. It never rains, but it pours. Someone's at the door. Someone's on the phone. I'm so sorry.
So there's a couple of other things here that I think maybe you wanted to talk about, Ian, before we wrap it up. You're a particular fan of Dominic Diamond. And this was a tweet of his.
yeah, I think there's been a lot of talk about this, and I think everyone is generally of the opinion that it's a terrible idea. I think there's a couple of different strands to it. I think I mentioned to you, Gav, this is actually implemented very differently in different leagues. So this is for a virtual piece of a pitch, and it's only for a couple of years, and there's no benefit apart from getting a certificate, which is just absolutely ridiculous. But the way this is implemented elsewhere is that, for example, Tottenham do the same thing, and depending on various factors of like goals scored from that area of the pitch, etc., there's different points, and they can go to fan open days, meet the players and stuff, and there's an intrinsic kind of fan value. And there's a lot of this in American sports with NFTs, where you can, like, say, meet the players, win merchandise and stuff. And there is a lot of value there if that's something that you want and that's an experience that you want. There is none of that with this. This is as if someone has rocked up to Celtic and said, here, by the way, they're doing this. You can sell virtual pieces of pitch. And they've gone, oh, some extra money, great. I think it's ridiculous. It's poorly implemented. I think it's a bad time of year as well, because you're trying to basically flog a certificate for people. I think they should really seriously reconsider it. And there's a couple of clubs that have signed up for it, including the SFA. And the fact there's no intrinsic value is terrible. It's terrible. I agree with everyone's condemnation of it.
Yeah.
Every day's a school day, Kaiser. Does everyone know what an NFT? What does NFT stand for?
Non-fungible token. So, for example, and I've got a good example of this.
Check out the big brains on Ian.
These. So, for example, this company Funko that do the pops, they have an NFT system, and there is a certain rarity to some of the NFTs. And if you get the rarer one, then you can have the physical collectible. So, therefore, instead of it just being a little digital thing that sits there and has no value, it's a little bit like gambling. Do you know what I mean? But again, even if there was that, even if they produced like a limited edition Celtic top and they said, look, if you have this piece of pitch and you have the opportunity if a goal is scored from that piece of pitch, or something, there's something you can win. But there's none of that. There is literally paying for a certificate, because it expires after 3 years as well. Terrible, really terrible.
Yeah. I was saying to Celtic, if I own the cyber rights to the turf, then I'm going to be streaming it online, because it's my cyber grass, it's my online property. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd have been better buying Sevco shares. There'd be more value for money, being worth absolutely nothing. I'm actually surprised Celtic got that idea out before Sevco, selling imaginary pitches to people all over the world. It's just a cash bulk from a club with 77 million in the bank, founded to feed children for the betterment of starving children, to be launching this, charging what, £39 for a digital square. I think it's 20 centimetres by 20 centimetres. There's literally thousands of them. It's just, it's hilarious. Celtic really need to take a close look at this, and to be given £1 to the foundation when you pay that £39, £1 to the foundation. Wow.
But Kaiser, Brendan needs another pair of Tom Fords for the winter,
Yeah, with studs, Brian.
With studs,
we do Tom Fords with studs.
Speaking of Sevco and pitches, I had a thought that I was going to bring up at some stage. You know the way they hate the color green and they will avoid the color green at all costs. Do you think they ever looked into whether it was absolutely necessary that their pitch is green, or could they somehow
That's a
dye
great
it or use
idea.
different seeds, GMO seeds that create a
I believe
blue
they buy
surface?
Kentucky bluegrass.
Yeah,
Kentucky
exactly.
bluegrass. That's it.
Because
Yeah,
they
they
would
hate-
love that if they could have a blue pitch like a pool table, rather
Yeah.
than the green baize of a snooker table. They would do it.
Well, to be
Someone's
fair,
asked that question.
they've
of FIFA.
boycotted money, haven't they? Because they're skint. And that's because
Yeah.
money's generally green, so they've boycotted that one. So it might not be so mad for them to boycott grass.
Yeah.
Again, it's great that the irony of green and white, the characters with the surname Green and White were the architects of their downfall. Craig White and Charles Green. Still
Very
love
good.
that one.
And on that bombshell, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much to everyone in the chat. As always, it's been great fun. Interested to hear your feedback. Maybe I'll reach out to one more female and see if she wants to come on for a laugh. We'll see how that goes.
That'll be great.
Otherwise, thanks
Join us
very
a
much,
bit more
everyone.
craziness in one pod if I'm there as well.
Yeah, come one, come all. All
She might
right,
come for
until
a drink
next
along.
time. Say again?
She might come for a drink along.
She might
Bring
well
up
do. Don't be
that
getting too
Expo
excited
Direct
there, Kaiser. I'm going to be away for the next few games, so this show is going to be deputized by others. So I'll see you mid-December. It'll be after the Zagreb game that I'll be back. So there's 4 games to be played. I'm going to miss 4 games.
Gav,
course of the next 2 weeks.
you know Jennifer loves you. It's a big Celtic fan. You with your celebrity connections, you could reach out and see.
No, Gav's not allowed to contact her anymore, Brian. So,
All right,
so
okay.
Oh, Brian, right? Hi, Jennifer. How's it going? Come over. What, you're not wearing any pants? Oh, okay.
On
So-
that note,
yeah, cut the feeds, Gav.
All right, gents. See ya.
Yeah,
Enjoy
lovely.
my absence, and yous can all catch up next Monday. All right.
hit the last comment.
Hail, hail.
Gav, would you?
Speak after.
Cheerio.